Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. Today, we have Deborah Watson. That's right, Deborah Watson, a professional actress, here live on the Keith Andrew Network. We had a great episode, and make sure to hit that icon to be notified when brand new episodes come about. Also, the following is brought to you by HB Gibson, home of the X Zone. If you're in entertainment, definitely check out HB Gibson. Also, if you're interested in eating healthy, being healthy, and working out, definitely check out Life of a Fighter. That being said, we're going to start off with my catchphrase. With that being said, as I always say, I'll catch you later. Now, the first thing I want to start off with is, what is the Keith Andrew Network? The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are or who you want to be, so prove to them and get them out to something. With that being said, hashtag break the labels. You don't have to have a learning disability to be on the show. It's my job to show people with a disability I can amount to anything and prove to them I'm capable of doing everything that you can do. With that being said, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you with us. For our listeners who want to see the very first time we did an interview, it was season 4, episode 373. That's a long time ago. Season 4.
That's a long time, Keith.
You can see the video quality. It will be played during the video in the break, like before and after. Hey, I don't have to decorate my brother's bed anymore.
Yes.
But, it's amazing, 2016. So give or take 5 years ago, or maybe?
Yeah, at least 5 years ago.
A lot's changed. So we're going to do a little of a catch up on the first one. Is tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what makes you do what you want to do.
Sure. So I am a writer, producer, director for Studio 222 Film Productions in Branson, Missouri. And why do I do what I do? I would have to say, Keith, for right now, we're working on our first full feature called Not Too Far From Here. And it's where the curse of addiction collides with the courage of love. In fact, just last week, Dateline released the story that was kind of this proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, where a really good friend of mine, Kathleen, her sister Vashti, was murdered by her husband, who was a Kansas Bureau investigator. And he tried to stage it so it looked like a suicide. And so so that's why I'm passionate about this specific project, because I had to watch on the sidelines. I was the audience, right, of watching her have to go through what she went through, what her family had to do in the aftermath of the chaos of the suicide murder that happened in Kingman, Kansas. And I couldn't rescue her from the hell she was going through, right? And it's like, what can I do in my life so that nobody else has to endure the things that she endured? Because, my friend is super strong, but this nearly crushed her to have to go through everything she went through. She has risen up in spite of it, though. And together, we're reaching out to people, not just through the film that we're working on, but we've also made these wristbands. So people that live in a violent home or are in a violent situation, they have the National Domestic Violence Hotline number literally kind of tattooed on their wrist in a way. And we teamed up with Shane Grammer, who is, I don't know if you can see it. Hang on a second. There we go. Got to keep it centered, focus. Shane Grammer, he is a graffiti artist out in California. And he painted this picture not too long ago. And when I saw it, I said, Shane, we need to put that on our wristbands and then have businesses put the sticker of this picture in their window. So let's say you're walking down the street and you're in a violent relationship, whether it's your mom, your dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, doesn't matter, male, female, person. If you're a person and you're in a violent relationship and you have that epiphany, it's time for me to get out and get help and get healing, and you see this picture on a business, you can step in and all you have to do is say, hey, I saw the picture, I need help. And they're going to know exactly what to do to help you, because the world needs to know they're not alone.
No, I absolutely agree. And if you're interested, you can send some my way.
Oh yeah, how many you want?
I would start off with 5
You got it.
and see how it goes. And
Yeah,
once
you got it.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you got it. What color do you want?
One of each. And once I start, doing autograph signings, once this freaking pandemic is over, you just send me a whole box and I can just, hand them out.
Yes. So can we flip the switch? How are you guys doing in this pandemic?
Oh, it's funny. That's the next question I was going to ask you. For me, my dad's best part of the day is getting out of the house. For me, doing my talk show, it's kind of like, this is what I want to do. If you have things to keep you busy and occupied, it's fine. It's kind of like, when you're my parents' age, you're not working anymore, and you don't have a talk show, or you're not writing, being productive, it can really get to you. So it's always good to have a hobby. For me personally, I trying to find the words for it. I've been doing this for almost 8 years. Tell me it's fine if I don't go out. Okay, it's not fine, but I don't have a social life. But
Right.
I know how to cope with it.
Yes.
Other people, that either drink or ever smoke. Funny enough, in a sick kind of way, there's a gun store in my town where they've been doing a record sales on people buying guns. Don't ask me why. Something about guns and toilet paper, but they just seem to be hoarding. But I don't know. It depends. But when we flip it back to you, how you and your husband and your family have been doing?
Yeah, it was really interesting because for us, when the whole toilet paper thing happened, I was like, it was just the two of us, right? And so I'm like, what's going on? And we have a tendency anyway, because both of us hate grocery shopping. And so we have a tendency to buy 2 weeks out anyway. So we actually rode out the storm pretty well. The biggest impact it made for me, Keith, honestly, because I was still working, since our business is new, I was still working at Home Depot part-time as a cashier. Okay. I was terrified to let go of that job and go all in with the film production company and the film festival and everything. And COVID kind of forced me to do it because we didn't know the give and take and the balance. I didn't want to get sick. And I was already on a leave of absence because we were supposed to be filming, but the SAG rules and regulations were just too strict, and it increased our budget $150,000. And I'm like, we don't have that kind of cash, And so that's why we decided to just keep pushing through and just reaching out to hurting people while we rode out the storm, so to say. And in that, I found the courage and the bravery to tell my employer, I'm sorry, I'm not coming back because I have to do this, because it's like you said, when you have that passion, you can't stop. I mean, you could stop, but then you're sad and there's too much. If I were to stop doing this and helping the hurting, I would feel like I stopped, like my whole person stopped,
No, I agree. I was a cashier, and everyone in my family has heart conditions. And by working at a supermarket, if I got sick and brought something back, then I will be held responsible. So yeah. I put my leave in, it's like take some time off and then, see how things got, if things let up. I will go back to work. I think, it's PG-13.
Yeah.
The shit was hitting the fan. I'm like, you know what? And dad made a decision for me.
Yeah.
You're not going back to work, period. So they're like, oh, when are you going to come back? It's like, yeah, this is
Not
actually
doing it.
my 2 weeks form. So, like I said, and for me, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's
And
awesome. Cute.
it's funny while we're on the subject, I always like to be friendly with all the customers who come in. And this one customer said to me, everyone here has a sour puss on their face, like they're miserable, they don't want to be here. But when I look at you, you're smiling, you're happy to be here. It's like, well, because I'm a better human being, number one. And number two is I like interacting with people. Granted, there are some people where I just would rather backhand than deal with, but there are some people who I have met who are really nice. And it's like, you have this personality, you have this glow about you. It's like, well, off the record, and I got in trouble for this, off the record, I am a talk show host. And it's like, if you're a talk show host, what are you doing in a place like this? Because one, you need funny skits. You can't just, you can sit there and write, but if you work by, oh, that's funny, I'm going to use that for later. So I will never change who I am and going to be the same person. So if I become rich and famous, that's never going to change who I am. Well, I'm going to have one foot in reality and one foot in the entertainment world. So I will enjoy a little bit of both.
Yeah. It's kind of like, who was it that said, I think it was Mark Wahlberg, I believe, said it. I could be wrong, but he said, if you're living in a career that doesn't give you the freedom to live outside the box of that career, then why are you there?
No, absolutely. And I have some.
Paraphrased it, but that's what I took away from what he had said. It's like, that's a good point. You should be free. Like, we're in the land of the free to be able to do what you want to do,
I agree with you 100%. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, I'm going to talk about social media. Can it make you or break you? And I'll pass the show over to you when we come back. So we're back from the commercial break. The following is brought to you by HB Gibson, home of the X Zone. If you're in entertainment and gaming, definitely check out HB Gibson. Also, if you're into fitness and eating healthy, make sure to check out Life of a Fighter. This will be on this part of the screen, a little banner of Life of a Fighter. Also, more importantly, make sure to subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Subscribe. We have brand new content from professional wrestling, actors, brand new people. So make sure to check it out. The Keith Andrew Network, always expanding, always looking for people to work with. Now, the next question I want to ask you is the big elephant in the room. And I know it sounds funny because who wouldn't want to do this? But with everything going on with your career, have you worked with people with disabilities? And are you willing to work with people with disabilities?
Keith, that is a brilliant question. I think the first person that I worked with was you with a disability. And you inspired me to consider the possibilities, right? And so I joined a group on Facebook. It was called the Rise Up World. Back in March of last year. And in it, they were educating us and training us. And there was this girl with cerebral palsy that she had a dream. She wants to one day be on the Ellen DeGeneres show. She wants to be a speaker. And she was so articulate with her words. I wanted to get to know her more. And long story short, I've helped her start her talk show. And she interviewed this 14-year-old boy named Cale Barron. In fact, you would have so much fun with him. He has a specific type of leukemia that he was born with. And as he ages, eventually his bone marrow or his body is going to turn on him. And he's going to develop cancer and die at a very young age. So his parents decided to let him just live life and enjoy it. So he started acting at 7. And your audience can catch him on Hulu in a series called The Endlings, which is really cool. I think it ran for 3 seasons. And he's going to be at the film festival this year. But he said something so interesting in an interview I did with him for the festival. He said, I just want to be able to be cast in a normal role as a normal teenage kid, because he's 14 now. I don't want to be known as a special needs kid. But the thing that really irks me is when I see a normal kid get the cast or get casted in a role for a special needs kid when I'm standing right there, And he had so much truth in that, but it caused me to pause and stop and look. I think, Keith, inside of everybody, our nature causes us to prejudge. It's like a safety mechanism we have. And so if something is different than us, we analyze it. At least I do. And we analyze it to see if it's safe. Okay, is this stove safe to touch the top? It still feels too hot. It's not safe, right? Is this person nice? Are they safe to be around? Like with you, I know I can trust you because I've been around you. Cale, I hadn't been around. And if he would have shown up for a normal teenage kid's role, when I'm looking for the big hunk football player, would I have considered flipping the big hunk football player to be this really cool kid with a disability, And so it's opened up my eyes to consider the possibilities, because what happened with Addie, Keith, she has such deep organizational skills. Her skill set for communications surpasses mine. And she's just a neat person in general that I think a lot of people pass her by because she's not exactly like them. And we try to say we don't do it, but as human beings, it's part of our nature, it's what we do. It's that, what is it? The herd, the herd stays together. Cattle stay with cattle. Horses stay with horses. You can intermingle, but nobody says, oh, I want to go intermingle with somebody in a wheelchair today. So yeah, to answer your question, I love working with people with disabilities because you guys are open to learning. And I think we as able bodies don't, it's like we take you for granted. We don't stop and say, wait, what do they have to offer that I can't? You know what I mean?
No, a lot of people kind of criticize me and say, you say your show is about disabilities, but you don't really have people on with disabilities. That's not really true. But
you just can't see mine.
Yeah, and mine's more mental than physical. But the biggest thing is I'm very sensitive when it comes to that. So if I see someone without an arm, without legs or arms, I'm like, I wouldn't want to live like that. And I'll give you an example I'm talking about. I was in Woodbury Commons. I wanted to think about Amadi or whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm not going back to them. I think Amadi. And I walked down this aisle. They were, doing films and everything. And I was staring at this guy and like, why am I staring at him? And it's starting to bother me. And when I walked past him, he didn't have arms and legs. And I'm like, that shit bothers me. And I'm not saying I'm no prize myself. I know a lot of people, like to punch me in the face because I don't shut up, because I keep pushing until I get a reaction. But having someone on the show with no arms and legs, I have my emotions on my sleeve. And, I'm not saying I'm better than that person. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I'm just saying it bothers me. So why put yourself in a situation where you're gonna look like, a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm just saying I'm very sensitive when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It totally makes sense. 100%. Like, in the same token, you guys could end up having a conversation that could radically change the world dynamics of how people perceive, because especially as a talk show host, like, you have this great opportunity right in front of you to be able to influence the world with your words. Because some people use their words to destroy others. You use your words to build others up. And not everybody does that, And I think that's what's very refreshing about your show, and why people should subscribe and watch your show and listen and learn. Everybody that has an ear to hear can hear. But what if you don't have your ears? What if you don't have your sight? Then how are you going to live life? I don't know how I would live. If you had to cut off my hands, I don't think I'd be able to talk, right? But if I was born without arms, maybe I could figure it out, because I'm always using my hands to talk.
That's true. So the next question I want to ask you is social media. With everything that you accomplish, actually, I want to ask you this in a different type of way. With your film production, do you think I would be a good candidate, number one? And with your film production, with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, have these platforms given you opportunities to work with so many people? Or do you think just because you say, something stupid like I just did, because I'm sensitive when it comes around, disabilities, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But passing it to you, do you think social media can make you or break you?
Yes, it can. On both sides of the fence. Like yesterday, I did a 12-hour share-a-thon. So I was up at 4 a.m. and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to put my makeup on today, because I'm going to be tired eventually. And I know I'm going to rub my eyes, because my eyes are going to start burning. And so I did a completely naked face, and I went back and watched some of it. I was like, what was I thinking? Right? Because I am my own worst critic. I see my flaws faster than the world sees my flaws. But there are critics that are ready and waiting for you to screw up. And you have to see beyond them and see the bigger picture. So social media has helped me meet people in a way that I would have never met others. I wouldn't have met them any other way. But it also takes away from those personal relationships that I have that are literally right there in front of me. And this has been going on before my career here. And I think it hit me the hardest back in 95, 96, when AOL was all the big rage, and we had our first computer for a couple, 2 or 3 years. And my husband's kind of like, I've got 12 friends on there. You've got 350. Leave my friends alone. These are my friends, right? But there was a knock that came on my door one day, Keith. And it was my next door neighbor that I loved hanging out with her. And she was going for a walk with her 2 kids. And she's like, hey, we're going to go for a walk for about 10 minutes. Do you want to come join us? I said, yeah, let me just say bye to my friends real quick and I'll come join you. And she's like, okay. 5 minutes later, I go to the door. She's halfway down the block. And I was like, hey, why didn't you wait? She's like, it's been 5 minutes. It doesn't take 5 minutes to say bye and hang up. And so I realized I was neglecting that friendship for people I would have never physically met in my life. So for that, I learned a very valuable lesson and learned how to set boundaries. It's hard because I think we had to schedule our meeting out, a month and a half, but to have healthy boundaries and still be able to work and still be able to have time for my family and my friends and my community. I think that's probably why COVID escalated me, is because I really wasn't in my community very much. So it was all here. And so I was able to give that extra time here in the social media world. But thankfully, I have somebody out of Florida that I met in St. Louis that's helping me with a lot of the marketing aspects. So that's that. But you asked me a question as to whether or not you would be able to work well in our film production company. Yeah, actually. And I think it's something that I never even stopped to consider it until you just asked me. But since we're a new company, we're really limited on funds. And I firmly believe a man or woman is worthy of their hire. I made $3,000 last year. The year before, I didn't make anything. Okay, so it was my 5th year in business and operations, and I can say that I actually turned an income. It was off our t-shirt sales. It wasn't because of productions. But I want to be able to hire somebody. So Keith, I already know what you're worth. Like right now in my head, I know exactly where I would plug you in. So yeah, when I have salaries, you better believe your name's on my list because you're in a demographic that I'm not in. And you can help things grow in ways I can't. And so for people not to hire you to help with social media and marketing and advertising, they'd be foolish. But that's my personal opinion. So.
No, I agree. Now, wrapping up the show, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. Now, you've been on the show before, so this question's kind of sound kind of relevant. I'm going to ask anyway. When I approached you to be a guest on the show for the second time, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And for people who work with you, would you recommend it to them?
Oh, sure. So, wow. That was a lot of questions all at once. I'm starting to see I do that to my husband all the time. So when you first asked me, I was excited and I wanted to tell others to be interviewed with your show, mainly because I've seen how you've grown so much over the past few years. Even though it seems like forever that we did the last interview together, you have grown leaps and bounds. Your longevity shows that you're going to be around for a very long time. You're not going anywhere. So why wouldn't people want to get plugged in with you?
Absolutely. Now, wrapping up the show, it was a real honor and privilege. And I'm looking forward to part 3 down the road.
Yes.
And for
we need to get it on the books now, though, right?
Absolutely. And remember, for people out there, make sure to check out Life of a Fighter if you're into fitness. HB Gibson, and hit that like and subscribe button to the Keith Andrew Network. As I always say, catch you later.